Hello and welcome to the IGN UK podcast. I'm your host for today, Roy Powers, and I'm joined by
Joe Scrabbles. I didn't realize this is a new hosting style to make me say my own name.
Style. Yeah. Is this wrrong?
No, well, I mean,
I'll change it already.
Confidence already. It's okay.
And my man to the right,
Dale Driver.
There we go. He was quicker, Joe. You gotta be.
What's
you gotta be on the ball.
It was coming.
I was on top of the game.
We had a meeting before this. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you. Very well. I'm a bit unnerved by you being in the middle.
Why?
Because I've done 2 podcasts.
Are you intimidated by my demeanor?
Your stature.
You guys are taller than me, though, so this is kind of weird. It's like the baby CEO, and you guys are like my yes men.
Baby CEO. You're the golden child, the little Buddha.
Oh, I like that. Golden Child Powers. I just got a new Twitter handle. Amazing.
Right.
So we got a lot of cool stuff to talk about on the show today, and I do find it kind of ironic because I'm genuinely quite a positive person that our first topic of conversation is actually a bit of a downer.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have all been playing Miitomo, the first Nintendo game to kind of launch on iOS mobile. And I mean, it was great at the start. All your friends were there. You were creating your characters, answering questions, playing mini games.
Oh, those halcyon hours, the 24 hours of fun.
That's about right. 24 hours,
I was having a blast in those first 24 hours. I was creating pictures as replies to people. I was customizing my character, and just, the world was my oyster. I couldn't wait to see what I was going to be able to do with this application. It turns out that was pretty much it. That is it.
You pretty much covered it all.
Yeah, so there's only so long that I can really find enjoyment in customizing my character and finding questions. One of the biggest problems with it so far is it seems like a game that's obviously heavily based in social. Like the whole point is social, answering questions, talking with your friends, but then it rewards that type of connectivity. So you start adding more friends, you want more points, more people.
Course, yeah.
But
and
the
then you
people
stop
add,
caring
exactly,
about
the
what's
people,
being said.
The people you add after a certain point, like, I know maybe 9 people in real life.
Yeah.
I'm not counting you 2.
Yeah.
Because I don't know you that well. So, like, the idea that I've got, like, 60 people as friends on there is ridiculous, because these people, like, most of them I just don't care about. I don't care what they have to say unless they're really funny.
It's true. Like, I don't even care what my closest friend's favorite thing about cats is, let alone Susan, who I have met through a friend of a friend who connected on Twitter.
Susan's just a bore.
It's all a bit strange, really. I mean, you keep saying game, but is it a game?
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
This is kind of half the problem for me, is that they introduced it as, we are not making Nintendo games.
Yeah.
We're making Nintendo apps that will drive people to our platforms in future, which I was like, that's cool. I love Nintendo. I want them to get more people invested in their stuff. But like you say, they reward you for all this stuff, and it sends you into this feedback loop of, I've got to keep earning, which is a very game-like bit of thinking, but there's no game to it. Like, you've just got the end result. You're being given rewards for quite boring stuff, and it turns you off.
Well, that's it. The old kind of system that they had before was, purchasing games, and you would get rewards as, little scratch pamphlets inside, which, I mean, as much as there was wrong with the old setup and the old Nintendo network, that's a pretty solid way. Someone buys your games, and they're rewarded in a small way to get
It's worth pointing out that some of that stuff is still going. They've still got the gold coins in My Nintendo, the new store, which is, so you're still buying games and getting rewarded for it.
Yeah.
It's just that Miitomo, at this point, they're really trying to push people to it, and so everyone's using it and realizing that it's only really there so that I can get that free copy of WarioWare Touched next week. Like, that's kind of it.
Well, that doesn't even interest me, though, to be honest, because, I mean, I don't have a DS at home or a Wii U at home. So, largely, I'm just using it as its own individual thing. So I
think that's probably the biggest indictment of all, is that like, you're using it as in the purest possible way, and it's still boring.
Yeah, as a standalone app, there's not much that you
I found I was entertaining myself. The app wasn't entertaining me. I was entertaining myself by writing the stupidest things I could write in the questions, and then reading my mates' responses to, that's an inside reference, that's a joke that we made. And that's about the only fun I really had. The photos were fun for a few goes.
Photos, I think the best thing about the photo creation is that you can import your own photos as a background. Because that obviously opens up a whole world of. I've seen people being very creative on Twitter.
I have seen some
very creative on Twitter.
Questionable stuff in there. Like for them, for like historically the most like prudish online company. Yeah. Nintendo have really opened the floodgates here to crazy. Some stuff.
Well, this is it. Like being able to upload your own custom photos and also allowing swearing, curse words as well. I'm not seeing these are great things, but they're
It
definitely
was shocking.
a good step forward.
Oh, the
Like,
Tomodachi
getting rid of
Life
these-
saying "fuck" is so funny. Like that voice is funny by itself, and the fact that it's swearing is so good.
Your Miitomo has a very deep voice. That really shocked me
Yeah,
because
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
is quite like cutesy
Squeaky,
and quite
yeah.
British. And then
I just pushed mine.
Joe, yours came in. He was like, "Hey, I'm Joe.
Well, there's a breaking point.
You like my cat on my back?"
It's really funny.
really
They have two, because they allow for intonations. They've got the base level deep voice,
Yeah.
but then if you go for like really high intonation, it will break the level until it just goes. It just sounds like napalm death going off.
That's what I'm changing mine to as soon as this
It's
is finished.
so good. You can do it both ways. You can have like a high one that's just like
white noise.
ear destroying white noise. It's so good.
So inappropriate photos, swearing,
Yeah.
demonic voices. This is just some of the fun that you can have.
And
with
somehow we
Miitomo.
don't like it. What's going on?
I think hopefully what we're going to see in the next couple months is additions to the application, which
Yep.
will increase games.
Needs that.
Because they've made game tokens such a big part of it, such a part of like your daily rewards. And I don't think they would just have it as such a huge factor if it was just to play that one game
That
is
like
the same
weird
exact
pachinko.
thing.
That's barely a game.
And all
as
you do
well.
is just push a button and
Yeah.
just watch you miss all the things you really like until you get a bit of candy at the bottom.
I'll tell you what, the one thing I do love about that is the way that all the Miis scream while they fall. Like, they just go all the way down. It's amazing.
Drop the
noise-
demon one down there, he'd be like,
Oh yeah, no, there are some creepy noises those things make. It's
Down to
great.
It's a bit weird the other day when we were in the pub. We were in the pub the other day and we were playing it, and you were just like, "Right, I'm gonna have a go on this," and I was like, "Hang on, that's me you're dropping there."
Yeah.
I'm gonna hear my little character
Just watching
screaming
your
to
guy
his-
just
It's quite sadistic, isn't it? Yeah.
bouncing around.
And then it's really funny because then, you know, on your fifth run of the playthrough, when they get to the bottom, you see all the
It's just
bodies of the ones
corpse-axed
you
bodies, and they're all smiling away, just like just paralyzed logs. It's weird.
So I think there's potential, and hopefully, as we say, the app is going to roll out more. I think they've done a really good job at getting a huge user base to
Yeah.
jump on.
Well, like
I had
3
people
million
who I
people.
didn't even knew like played any games,
Yeah,
let alone Nintendo
exactly,
games, as like sending me friend requests.
Well, it helps out it's top of the App Store chart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds you how powerful the App Store is. Like
massively, yeah.
mobile gaming, at least in our like little sphere, has kind of disappeared in the last couple of years. And seeing suddenly everyone going like, "Oh, I've got Miitomo," and you're like, "This person hasn't owned a Nintendo console." Like, you know,
Exactly,
school
yeah.
friends
Yeah.
haven't owned a console since the N64. Like, seeing them playing a Nintendo game is really weird.
And I'm sure some of them, as you said, never played Wii or Wii U.
Yep.
So making a Mii is something that they've never seen before. That's just
really
something
interesting. I
only
never
on
thought
their
about
phone.
that.
It could
Yeah.
be quite a novelty for them, actually.
Yeah, because for us, I've created myself in Wii form far too many times.
More times than there were consoles, am I
3DS,
right? Just
yeah,
perfecting
just-
it.
Absolutely. Oh God, have you guys ever done the?
The taking a photo of yourself.
Oh my gosh.
It's better in Miitomo than it's ever been before. The Wii U one was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff, because at the time Wii U came out, I had like shoulder length long hair, and it could not understand what was my face. Like it just didn't know what was going on.
I tried to do it with this one because I was like, all right, this is cutting edge. This is my iPhone camera. This is gonna be great.
Yeah.
And it was like, took a picture and was like, is this okay, Rory? Like huge baggy sad eyes and a grey goatee at the bottom. And I was
You had like a non-matching goatee. That was weird.
it's really weird.
It's not good with light, is it, at all?
No,
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
turn
like
the
it.
light
Don't
on.
understand.
And I was doing mine in the evening and I went to do it and it's just pitch black. So it's like, we're not picking anything up. And I was like, just turn the light on.
Just create like a Nightman Miitomo.
Just a black screen. It's like Spinal Tap album cover as a face.
Nightman, the Miitomo was amazing. Yeah, no, the interesting thing about this is like if they're not making games and they've got they've said they're making 5 smartphone apps.
Right.
Yeah.
They've got 4 more left. Right, so they've done social media. What else are they doing on phones? What else are they going to do? They're going to
Maps.
have
Hopefully-
Nintendo Tinder, like
Nintendo? Oh my
Nintendo.
God.
Nintendo, that
Nintendo.
right?
That
Right.
would be
So
great.
let's just stop this and copyright that idea
Like,
right now.
they-
You have to find your princess.
That's it. Pokemon Go's taken Foursquare already, so they can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
what else are they? I know Nintendo are the people with all the ideas, and there's a reason I don't work for them. But I cannot understand what they're going to do with Nintendo properties, but not games.
And they're
on
saying that,
phone.
there won't be games.
They don't want them to be seen as games.
They'll have
because
game elements.
Yeah, they want people to go and buy their games after they've played the apps. So I just don't know what they're going to be aiming for.
It'd be interesting,
Who knows?
especially because they've kind of tackled the social
Yeah,
version.
like
It'd be
They've
interesting what they
swiped
see.
it out.
I'm definitely down for Nintendo. Sign me up. I will swipe all night.
Oh, that me screams real good. Swipe right.
Your Nintendo Miitomo is just
Yeah.
like looking for a good time.
Yeah, it's just zoomed right in on his horrible face, just going.
I like walks on the beach.
So that is Miitomo, and as you said, hopefully it will get a little bit more exciting. But on to some more positive news, one that I'm really excited about, and I'm sure you guys probably aren't quite as excited because I don't know about you, Joe, but I know, Dale, you're not as big of a Xbox player
No.
as I am. Have you played any or a lot?
Oh
or-
yeah, well, I just came from Official Xbox magazine. I would be a bad employee. That's why I was fired and why I'm here. I'm a big Halo fan, but
Yeah.
I have not played much of Infection Mode. Which
Exactly,
is
which is what we're going to be talking about. So this is a really popular game mode. I think it started off around the time of Halo 3 and was in a lot of the series leading up to that. They didn't have it in 4.
Yeah,
but
that
they
was
just
weird.
announced they're bringing it back to 5. So essentially what it is, I mean, you could probably get a lot from the
I think I
title
can
itself.
gather. It's possibly zombies?
Yes, it's
Just a
essentially
wild
zombies.
stab in the
So
dark there.
it started off as a Halo 2 custom, like a user-built game mode called
Right.
Zombies, I
Okay.
think, which was, or maybe it was called Infection at the time. Either way, has always had a zombie element.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got one team, like quite a large team
Mm-hmm.
of uninfected people who are just normal Halo players, like running around shooting people and stuff. Of
course.
Then the zombie team appear, and they are, for a start, they're always green. That's a thing. They've always got energy swords,
Right.
and whenever they kill someone who's uninfected, they then respawn
okay.
as an infected. So it's basically, a big. The mode is let's not let the whole team swing to zombies by
Sure,
the end of
yeah.
it.
Yeah. So there is some weapon limitations. So zombies will have the energy sword, so they can't actually shoot.
As they're known to do.
But,
Zombies.
Yeah, no, that's just
well,
me.
zombies by their very nature are inconsistent. So, but they're also a lot. They're also a
Got
lot
partridge
faster.
coat in there.
I know you're not used to roaring in the partridge coats. I'm like the new Tilly. So the zombies are way faster and they can jump higher, and that makes it easy, obviously, for them to just sneak into small bits.
Right.
But it's really great at the start because, as you said, the team who aren't infected are all obviously on the same side, and what they'll usually do is hunker down into one base and have they'll all watch windows and things.
Right,
It's kind of like Rainbow Six Siege, and you have one team trying to break in, and of
Yeah.
course with a zombie you can just die and respawn and die and respawn. So you find yourself just jumping, lunging in, trying to just take them out.
Nice.
So it's at the
Sounds
end as
cool.
well.
Yeah.
You're
Am I
down to
right?
2 people, and you're back to back, just zombies hunting in.
Am I right
It's
in thinking the
amazing.
zombies don't have shields as well, so it's much easier to kill them?
Yeah, so I believe the defending team have, I think it's a shotgun and a handgun. So also, again, the zombies have to get close to kill you, but you don't have a lot of range either, so it's really difficult to kill the zombies.
What you're describing, it sounds a little bit like heroes versus villains in Battlefront, except for you're not taking on the heroes.
Yeah.
Or taking on the
yeah.
villains, I should say, yeah.
I'd say so. But it's great as well because the balancing is so great that it's equally fun to be a zombie as it is someone defending. When you get turned, you're like, oh, okay, fine. But now I get to go, especially if you've been on the defending team for a long time, and
Yeah.
you get turned to a zombie and you know where everyone is hiding in the building because they're your friends that you were
course,
just
yeah.
fighting with, so then you can come in, and it's great. It's a fantastic game. But this is just part of my love for zombie games. I absolutely am addicted to zombie games.
Really?
Dead Island, Dead Rising, Left 4 Dead.
Do you not
I
feel
just
like you're
absolutely-
fatigued with them at this
Oh,
point?
Yeah, I
no.
don't get it.
I
Yeah.
just love them so much.
I dabbled with Zombie, what was Zombie U. And
Oh,
was
yeah,
a-
see-
So it's a PlayStation Plus free game this month, and I tried it on, and no, wasn't feeling it.
That's a bit of a
Well,
sketchy one too,
yeah, wasn't
based on
feeling
whole
it.
zombie. I mean, even Resident Evil. I just all the zombie games. I just have an immediate pull towards them.
I mean, zombie games have never been my thing. There's just something about them that doesn't quite click. I mean, they've spawned some of the best stuff ever, like Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
If zombie games didn't exist, we wouldn't have action games as we know them. That's just how it works. So I kind of appreciate them. But I've never quite... I don't know why I don't like them, because I love Dynasty Warriors, which is essentially the ultimate zombie game, which is
You're
one
so
man,
right. You are
one
so
man
right.
wades through crowds of useless, shambling idiots for
Yeah.
an hour at a time. Which, I'm super.
I
into
never
that,
even thought
but-
about that. Yeah, Dynasty Warriors is one of the best zombie
It
games of
kind
all
of is,
time.
but I guess that's because it's an empowerment thing. Like a lot of zombie games are, if they touch you, you are dead.
Yeah.
Whereas Dynasty Warriors is about, it doesn't really matter unless 1,000 of them touch you.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a difference in empowerment. Actually, saying that, Zombie U was one of the few zombie games that really worked for me.
Really?
But it was as a Wii U game where they were using that gamepad a lot.
course,
The
yeah,
gamepad for
It just feels really clunky and like it feels like from a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, no,
to be honest, which
absolutely.
It's
Like,
totally what it is.
Even when it came out on Wii U, it felt like a game from the 90s.
Yeah.
But that was kind of part of its appeal. It was
Right.
this idea that it took everything from you. And when you were down to like a cricket bat in Shadwell Station, where I've been quite a lot, like just being like,
With a cricket bat.
just like sweeping around in stupid British zombies. And then coming across like one of your dead friends, like an online friend
Oh, really?
who was
Okay.
yeah. So it
So I
has a
haven't
Dark
played
Souls.
much of it.
It has a, sort of a Dark Souls thing. If your friends die,
Yeah.
they leave behind a zombie of theirs that you
awesome.
can then go and kill.
now you're speaking my language. Dark Souls,
good.
Dark Souls. Let's go.
Yeah,
go, go.
absolutely. And that really worked for me.
Yeah.
There was something, and it was kind of really silly as well. It went in for the whole like John Dee Elizabethan like plagues and like
yeah.
just really dumb dark magic storyline.
So what
and
did you
stuff.
think of Dying Light? Did you play Dying Light?
Dying Light? So
Amazing game.
I played a little bit of it and I really liked what I played, but just stuff got in the way. But that's my kind of zombie game where it's I'm so much better than these zombies that like it's not. If they get me, it becomes a problem again, and especially the nighttime stuff. I wasn't as
Dying
into.
Light gets a
Not
little
go
bit
out at night.
trickier.
Did not
Exactly.
go out at night.
I wasn't quite as into that, but like, I mean, I'm a huge Mirror's Edge fan as well, so just being able to do first-person parkour
Seems like,
again,
yeah,
course,
the
yeah.
perfect game then.
it was great. I do want to, I need to get back into that because the following looks great as well. The big like countryside element of it seems fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just not tried it enough.
Well, yeah, the sucky thing is, I would say I could bring in my Xbox and we could all play Infection mode together, but of course there's no split screen multiplayer in Halo, which is one of my big problems with it.
Did you see Gears of War making a big deal about how they definitely have split screen in all modes this week?
Good for you,
You're
Gears
like,
of War.
oh yeah,
Good for you.
They understand.
So we can all play Gears of War together.
Yeah.
That's a happy solution.
That'd be nice.
Speaking of weird games,
Nice.
seamless
Excellent.
segues. Joe, you've been checking out some cool stuff.
Yeah,
this
so
week.
I went to Cool Indie Games Festival and home of our horrible arsehole rivals, Eurogamer. We like those guys, it's fine.
I'd love to kind of like encourage the illusion that when we meet each other, it's some sort of Anchorman-esque. Like,
yeah, we all line up.
yeah. Then Kotaku show up with baseball bats.
Just
and,
swinging
everyone-
Wiimotes.
Exactly.
I went to Resd, and Resd is an amazing event. Like, if you've been to big video game sort of consumer-facing conferences before,
Yeah.
they're always in a big room, and it smells of sweat, and just it's awful, and everything's overpriced.
Oh yeah, I'm at home.
Resd is in this very strange building, as of the last few years at least. It's in this very strange building where essentially it was originally built as a shopping centre and then they turned it into a sort of commercial event space.
Okay.
This makes it sound very boring. Essentially what this means is everyone has their own like little rooms. So it's kind of like walking around and going to shops, but all the shops are selling is just being able to play free games for 15 minutes at a time. And it's really nice
That
because all
sounds
the
cool.
developers hang
That's
out.
cool.
And because it's indie focused, everyone is kind of on the same level. There's no elitism. There's no like big lines for stuff unless it's for VR. And you just get to see really weird stuff. And so I kind of made it my mission to go around Resd and find the weirdest possible stuff I
Nice.
could, because it's always the home of guys just in their bedrooms making experiments and coming out pasty-faced and sweaty into the light and going, try my whip, shit.
I do love the thought of you showing up to this event and each little room is like a jail cell, and you just go in and they're like chained to the wall.
Please.
And they're like, start the console, start it.
So one of the first things I saw at Resd was a game called Knife to Meet You.
Love it. I'm
Right, good
sold.
title.
So I will
Pun.
invest. How much money do you want? I'll write the check right
So
now.
Knife to Meet You is by I can't remember the guy's name, which sucks. But basically, he made the what he calls the world's first one-dimensional platformer, which is essentially a strip of fiber optic cable, and you press a button to jump over obstacles on it. Like that's it. That's the whole game, and it's unusually exciting.
Right.
His new game, Knife to Meet You, is a small wooden console with 3 big red arcade buttons on it. It's a 3-player co-op game. You all sit down, and all you have to do is keep your fingers on these arcade buttons, all 3 of you, and an LED meter bigs up, but I can't speak. It expands a progress bar, and when the progress bar fills up, you go to the next level.
Right.
The obstacle here is that there is a real knife swinging around trying to hit your fingers as you are holding on to these arcade buttons.
I'm down.
An actual physical knife.
In real life.
Yes.
A real life
So
knife.
as you are a real life knife.
How fast is this knife spinning?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
As the levels go up, the knife not only gets faster, it gets more devious. So it will fly past.
Devious knife.
It will fly. No, it will fly past your finger.
He starts rubbing his hands together. He gets closer and he gets closer.
Exactly. So the knife will go shoo, 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 and then it will go past your finger. So you'll lift it up, and then as you put your finger back down, it will come back. Like it will just stop and go whoop, and try to get you again.
Nice.
And it just gets more and more horrible as this knife tries to just hit you. I should add, it is a blunt knife, so it
Right,
cannot hurt you.
Okay, maybe lead with that, Joe. I'm trying to look at your hands, see if you've still got them all.
The point
It's
here,
a hardcore player.
the point here is that your
He comes
mind,
back like, guys, I played some great games this weekend. Just nubs.
just nothing, just bleeding. I've been in hospital for days. It's the point here is that your mind. It's really hard to switch off the fact that an object you recognise as a knife is coming for your finger.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like, it's so much fun. It's this really odd, stressful arcade experience. The only thing that I've got to compare it to is, did you ever play those old arcade games where you had to keep your hands on a thing and it said it was giving you an electric shock?
Oh yeah.
It's basically that. There's a game called The Pain Station it's in a German art museum, which is a game
But
designed.
you didn't just go into a dungeon.
I did.
He's like, this is a weird games convention.
Got stocks over
Why
there.
am I in handcuffs?
There's this dude in a big hood. No, so there's a game in I think it's the Computerspielen Museum in Berlin.
Nice.
It's called
there.
the Pain Station, and you have to sign or at least used to have to sign a waiver before you played it. And it's a game of Pong, except when you lose a point, you either get whipped,
Shot.
or you have to keep your hand on this like panel, or the panel will heat up or give you a shock. So it's designed to hurt you. You don't lose points for losing. It's just if you let go of that panel, you lose a point. So that's about as close as I can come. Like,
Pride is what you lose.
exactly.
I feel like we're moving backwards.
No. Hardcore gamer
when I was
is
a-
about to get more intense.
When I was a kid, we used to play a game called Knuckles. Did you ever?
Oh,
play
yeah.
that?
I love Knuckles.
I feel like we're going the wrong way.
We're back to
we've
Knuckles.
We've moved past Knuckles.
Yeah, Sonic and Knuckles.
But
That's why you do it really quick.
I also had those ones where it was kind of like a roulette thing, and everyone would put their finger in the little bit, and then you press the button, and it would go round, and you didn't know who was going to get the electric shock.
Yeah.
That was the game. What a horrible experience.
Brilliant.
I like on the first game, what was it called? Knife
to Meet You.
Knife to Meet You. I like that he's programmed Knife AI as well.
It's amazing. So I think it's probably a standard dance that it does. Like the motor just knows what it's doing. But I do like
It's
the idea that it's
AI.
AI. It knows.
AI.
It recognises the most nervous of you and comes for you.
That is such a great movie title.
What,
Knife AI.
AI.
So basically, this is all preamble. This is the first weird game I saw, and it set me on my quest to find the weirdest games. And because this is apparently what I do now, I have a quiz about the other weird games
Love
I
it.
found.
Love it.
Awesome.
We love quizzes.
Love a good
Okay,
quiz.
this is the Weird Res Game quiz.
How did you like it?
So, we'll start off. What genre of game that I played uses an exercise ball in a big wooden holder as a controller? Is it A, a geography action game, B, a bowling strategy game, or C, a football MOBA?
I'm going to go C, football MOBA.
Football MOBA?
I'm going to go bowling strategy.
Bowling strategy,
game.
you're both wrong. It is geography action.
Blimey.
Right, so
So you move like the
That's what I
world
look for
then?
in my
exactly.
games.
The game is called The World is Flat, and what it is it just flashes up, find this country, and you've got a map on the screen, and you've got to roll this big yoga ball around. Like, it's massive, like one of those full-on medicine balls, like rolling it around in this thing. It's really satisfying to move. It's got this like strange sort of like sandy texture to it as you move it around. The trouble being, as soon as you flip a map over on its head, the world is completely unrecognisable.
Right, of
I have
course,
no
yeah.
idea what I'm looking at anymore. So it's just like finding countries as quickly as you can. It's like Sporkle, but with a yoga ball. It's great. So that was cool.
Imagine that, like on iPhone, it wouldn't be the completely different.
It would be
wouldn't
awful.
It
There would be
just
no point to it
maps.
at all. Like, and I think he's making this game as a full thing, but I think he's adding
Peripheral.
more to it.
this is
but
like-
yeah, it's best with a yoga ball.
So I
Peripheral
guess-
costs are out the.
Well, that's it. Like with Knife to Meet You, I could, if it's just like a small add-on that you would have to purchase, that's quite understandable. You would have to buy a giant yoga ball in a wooden box.
Well, this is the thing. No, they're not trying to sell these. These are more like exhibition games.
Right.
So you
Okay.
would go somewhere and this would be on. Like, that's kind of the pleasure of them. A lot of these come from this place called the Left Field Collection, which got famous last year because they had a VR game where you were buried alive, and it simulated this by you sitting in a coffin. And that was the game.
Do you need to wear a VR headset?
Well, because you're looking around the coffin, it's lit up inside. So it's to simulate the space of
hear
being
the noise
inside.
of being buried alive.
Exactly.
They put the Oculus on, but it's just turned off. You're just in the coffin like,
This is even worse.
This is so real. These graphics are incredible.
10 out of 10 for graphics, but I'm suffocating.
So, yeah, neither of you got The World is Flat.
But that's good.
Geography
We're
action
still at
game.
an even playing field.
Okay. One game I saw took a strange spin on cyberpunk fiction. What futuristic profession do you play as in the game VA11 Hall A, which is Valhalla? Is it A, cyberpunk accountant, B, a cyberpunk farmer, or C, a cyberpunk barman?
Accountant.
Cyberpunk barman.
Barman is correct.
Exactly.
It's essentially just a game where you're told to mix drinks, but it's all done up like it's like Blade Runner or something. It's really strange, and it's got a surprisingly dirty storyline where this woman who streams herself 24 hours a day comes in and starts asking for drinks, keeps telling you to take your top off and stuff. It's really strange.
Who makes these?
What?
Who makes these?
I don't know.
Who buys these?
Such a strange thing. Okay, so there's
That's one then.
Yep, 1-0. So we got a game called Reigns. Now, Reigns is a medieval management sim, but it's a spin on which popular app? Is it A, Foursquare, B, Tinder, or C, Twitter?
Foursquare.
A management app. I'm thinking it might be Foursquare as well.
Medieval Foursquare. You're both wrong. It's medieval Tinder.
Oh!
So what it is...
You mentioned Tinder today.
Yeah, I know,
What's
right?
going on?
It's... You'll notice I made the Tinder reference. It was because I was thinking about this.
Shoehorn.
It's a medieval strategy game where you play a king and people come to you with requests, but you've only ever got like two options. So you've got yes or no. And it's about managing your kingdom with like a full storyline, but it's told through little cards which you swipe left or right for yes or no.
Okay.
It's really, really cool. It's from Devolver Digital, who do just cool games.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like the hippest video games publisher, if that's possible. And it's got music by Disaster Piece, who did It Follows, and Fez.
I know Disaster Piece.
He's done amazing work. So yeah, it looks really, really cool. It's out this summer.
Good.
Okay.
If you get bored of Tinder, you play a little bit of that.
Exactly.
Don't mix them up though.
Yeah.
Don't mix them up. Yeah.
Yes,
25-year-old Susan does not need her farm expanded. That's a very different.
Susan absolutely does not want her husband
If
killed
anyone
for
on
adultery.
Tinder needs their fields plowed, that is something completely different.
euphemism?
Interesting.
They're not. It was, yeah.
That's some good pun work, dude.
Thank you. Thank you. I got my host face on.
So we're still 1-0 Rory. Question 4. Manual Samuel is a game with a core mechanic you might otherwise take for granted. What is it? A. You have to remember to breathe. B. Every word of dialogue is a QTE. Or C. If you forget to blink, your screen goes black.
Ooh. Could be any of them. I'm going to go...
C.
What was
C.
A again?
You have to remember to breathe.
Yeah, that one. I'm going for.
You are correct.
Yes.
1-1. This is a game in which you constantly have to press a button to breathe as you
Nice.
walk around. It's ridiculous. So like you're just walking around, you're doing it's a sort of Octodad Quap thing, but in the style of like an Adult Swim cartoon. You're just some asshole who the devil's trying to kill, and so he curses you. Like it's really hard to walk. Like one of the challenges is just to take a successful piss, like
While breathing.
and exactly, and
That's the
breathing
added
makes
layer.
it hard. Like breathing is really tough.
So it's like an existing simulator.
It's exactly
I
it.
need to exist.
But yeah, so
Existing simulator.
apparently
that.
Samuel is like set up as like the laziest man in the world, and so you've got to breathe for him. Like it's really odd. Okay.
Pump his chest.
Yeah. Samuel, stay with
You
me.
have to have Staying Alive in your headphones all the time while you're playing that game. Keep the beats right.
Right, I met the team behind a fully live-action horror game, but where did they film it? Was it A, an actual secret nuclear bunker, B, the house where the Moors murderers lived, or C, a still-in-use mental hospital?
A.
I want all of these.
A, because of how descriptive you were about it.
A secret nuclear bunker?
Yeah.
An actual secret
An
nuclear
actual
bunker.
secret.
What was C?
C was a still-in-use mental hospital.
I'm going to go C.
Oh, Dale's taken over. It's an actual secret nuclear bunker. Have you ever seen those?
How much of a secret is it?
Exactly. Have you ever seen those pictures on the internet of? It's a place in Essex where they've got the brown tourism signs on the road, and it says "secret nuclear bunker."
Yes,
it's that secret nuclear bunker.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So apparently, it's amazing. Like I had a long chat with these guys, and apparently, it's terrifying. Like. And there's really weird stuff down there because people just go and they rent it out for a weekend and then they leave everything they had behind. So there's everything from like the room the Prime Minister would have gone in during the Cold War if there'd been a nuclear attack to a script for a porno that someone filmed in there that they just left behind. Like they were just walking around in this terrifying place.
Wait.
People have filmed. People have filmed pornos in this secret nuclear bunker. That is a thing.
You haven't seen that porno?
What, weapon of mass destruction?
Oh yeah. I've been meaning to go and get my script back as well.
Yeah.
So you can just rent it now?
Apparently, that's a thing.
Just
like,
as
it's not
like an Airbnb or something?
Well, it's like a tourism place, so I suppose it's like an events location or something.
I would love to do a podcast from a secret nuclear bunker.
It'd just be very echoey.
Very echoey.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the
It
production
sounds
levels.
terrible. They were telling me they would. Someone was showing them around, and there was like, there's a really long tunnel into the hillside that it's built into, and they were like, "Oh, we were kind of like, oh, I get it, because you know, to escape fallout, you've got to go down this tunnel."
Yeah.
No, the point was that it was a really long tunnel, so that if people tried to get in after the nuclear apocalypse, they would have guards at one end who could easily shoot anyone that came in. So the idea is they just mow people down in this tunnel.
Good strategy.
Terrifying
Good
practicality. So yeah, that's the bunker, which is coming out this summer as well.
So
Nice.
tied now.
2-1.
No,
isn't
it's
it?
2-1 still.
2-1, mate.
No!
Yeah.
Damn it.
You got that. You have to remember to breathe. Right.
And it's weird because I forget that all the
I
time.
know, right? You're constantly collapsing in your chair.
Just nudging him
I'm
all the
halfway
time,
through a
Rory.
news video and it's just like, someone give Rory a kick again.
Yeah.
He's forgotten to
This
breathe.
video's a write-off. Right. Final question. So you can only draw, Rory.
Okay. Or we could do winner takes all. Winner takes all. Winner
I'm
takes
good.
all.
I don't think Dale's got to
I'm
go
in
for
a
that,
prime
really.
position here.
Right. What is the game Pool Panic? Is it A, a swimming racing game with the mechanics of Road Rash? Is it B, a billiards game where the balls are alive and don't want to be hit? Or is it C, a game where the entirety of the Dorset town of Poole is on fire and everyone in it is on fire too, and you're the only person who can save the day, but you're on fire as well?
I think A, because I feel like you're leaning, like you're trying to make us want to choose C.
I hope it's A, because that sounds really cool. I would definitely play that game.
It does
I'm
sound
going to
good,
go
doesn't
A.
it,
You both went for A.
Yeah.
It is B, a billiards game where the balls are alive and don't want to be hit. It's hilarious. Like, so it's all done up like it's sort of Adventure Time style looking, and all the
Like
balls have
little
these
bubblegum,
horrible little faces, and as you smash them, they're just like "Rah!" and like scream into the pockets and
sounds
stuff.
awesome.
It's so much fun.
So they don't want to be hit, but they can't move. They're still
Oh,
immobile.
no, so some of them can. So there's different classes, like red ones can't move, yellow ones can run around. Then there are like grey ghostly balls that know when you're pointing the cue at them. And you're like this really smug white cue ball just going, "Meh," like smashing into all these other balls. It's horrible. It's really funny. And all the tables are done like, it's got like a Mario style overworld.
Right.
Okay.
And all the tables are done sort of like platforming levels. So sometimes all the pockets are like blocked off, and you've got to smash bits of like weird boulders away to reveal other holes on the table and stuff. It's really
This
cool.
sounds-
Actually,
sounds
I actually
really
really like the
fun.
sound of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that
brilliant.
sounds
Like,
great.
it's so
What
much
was
fun.
What was that for?
It's currently just PC, like it's a very early alpha that they
Okay.
were showing off, but it looks amazing and it's really funny.
Do you remember the name of it?
Pool Panic.
Oh, Pool Panic.
It is Pool Panic. So yeah,
I will definitely check that out.
That's all my weird res games. I saw some good stuff. It was
Yeah,
really
but you
fun.
also got the chance to play.
the chance to
the
play.
chance-
chance
to
to play. This is the section of the podcast where I talk like Sean Connery. You also got a chance to play PlayStation VR.
That sounds good in Sean Connery's voice.
Red October standing by. What did you think? Because I got the chance to play it last year at Paris Games Week,
Yeah.
and I thought it was great. I had an absolute blast.
So the most interesting thing to me, like I've played a fair bit of Oculus Rift, is that not that it's any better, like it's kind of the same functional experience. It's way more comfortable. Like the headset is so much more comfortable.
Yeah, we're getting to a weird time with VR where I know that there is major differences between the headsets, but
to a layman, you can't tell. Like,
honestly, and it's such, for me especially, like using VR is still a pretty exciting experience.
Definitely,
And the chance to do it is so far apart from previous ones and future ones that I can't compare it. There's no comparison. And it literally a lot of the time just does come down to the comfortability of the headset.
How much you can tell that you're in it. I suppose.
Because when I started using VR, we were already past the problems of motion tracking and screen resolution and blurriness and things. Like I've only had really good experiences, and it is funny that now it's literally getting down to what's the comfiest headset, what's the lightest. Like
it's so strange,
insane.
but it's an amazing thing. Like if no one's used it, it's essentially you put a sort of band around the back of your head, like it just sits over the top of your skull, and then it's sort of on the headset itself is on a rail and you sort of push it into your face. So you haven't got like an Oculus, which is goggles essentially. It's just you kind of just place it until it's close enough, but it's not squeezing your head. And what that amounts to is that it's way more comfortable to look around and it doesn't feel heavy on your face. You're not being dragged down. So I played a couple of games. I played Res Infinite, which is essentially a VR version of the original PS1 Res, which was cool. But the problem of Res is that you're always hanging behind this guy. So when you're looking around...
So you're not actually the guy.
You're not the guy. Because if you were the guy, you'd be throwing up constantly because it is a man flying through a formless void at incredibly high speed. So that was cool. And it's Res is amazing. So that was a fun thing to do. But it was what it was. Whereas I've also played Riggs, which is their like mech sports game.
So Riggs, is this the one that is so strange? It's like an esport inside of a game?
Yes. So you are in... to be honest, it's kind of closest to Rocket League, where it feels like it's an established sport that you are joining. But in this case, I think there are different modes, but the mode I played was essentially mech basketball.
Yeah.
But you are the ball. Right?
Really?
Okay.
I thought you were in the mech suit.
So you're in the mech suit.
Yeah.
I just imagine you sit in a chair and you're like, wow. Just getting tossed about by robots.
I just got the Easter egg mode where all the other players were just throwing me around. I'm just this guy in the middle of the room going, it was...
People behind you, should we tell him that's a glitch? No, he's having fun. Just tried it out. How did you enjoy ball mode, sir?
You didn't really get to do much. You just sort of looked around.
But it was amazing. So you're a guy in a mech suit, and there are teams of 3 on 3. And if you kill 3 other mechs, so you've got these big guns, obviously, because it's a mech game, which really nicely... I don't know why I'd never assumed that this would be the case, but you just aim by looking. So if you see someone, you just follow them with your eyes, and you just as they go. It's really satisfying. It's quite fun. If you kill 3 people, or you pick up 3 of these like orbs that are scattered around, or they drop when they die, you then go into this overdrive mode, and then you jump through this enormous hoop, like above the center of the arena.
Okay.
And that's how you score.
Oh, wow.
Which is really fun because, unfortunately, I was playing with quite simple AI because I think it was designed to make you feel really good at the game.
Yeah.
Which I was.
Yeah. You sit down. Don't need it. Hard mode.
Natural. Esports, here we go.
In the final version where it's 3 on 3 online, what you're going to have is people playing defense. So they sit next to the hoop and just like batter people away whenever they come over, which is
sounds awesome.
Incredibly satisfying.
Yeah.
Like stopping someone from scoring by punching them out of the air at high speed is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
So it's got this really interesting mix between your classic mech game, just shooting people and watching robots explode, and also the kind of compulsive simplicity of sports. Like you've only got one interaction, which is kill people, get in the hoop. That's it. Get in that hoop.
I think that's like a lot of esports benefit from simplicity. Like Rocket League is going to be a great one because it's really approachable for audiences who aren't familiar with the game. Because it's essentially, I have such an easy time when I have someone who is playing the game for the first time and they're like, okay, so how do I play? I'm like, it's football with cars.
Yeah,
exactly.
Honestly.
Have you played Mario Kart? Have you played football?
Yeah.
It's those two things.
It's pretty great. And they're like, how do I shoot? And I'm like, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't. You just drive around.
And it's so Riggs is really interesting to me.
I'm actually excited about Riggs. That was one I wasn't really sure about. I'm very cautious now about. I feel like there was a point where a lot of companies were making games for the sole purpose of them to become an esport, like trying to create a game that would have that.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly, and then I feel like that got some companies in a mess, and everyone's trying to make these MOBAs with like teams that you build and. You know, I honestly think it's much more better to try and do something original than replicate someone else's success. But Riggs, I mean, a VR esport, that is something different,
Yeah.
and that actually sounds like it could have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Especially if there's multiple game modes and things. That sounds really interesting.
And as someone who's just liked big robots his whole life,
Who doesn't
there is
love
something
big robots?
about
Everyone loves a good mech.
being
Just
in one and
smashing
seeing like
stuff.
all the name, like the manufacturers of the guns written
Yeah.
on the guns
Yeah.
as you look around, and like there's a long sequence before you start where you're in the kind of garage and these guys are coming up to you and being like, "What, mate? Yeah."
I love
and then,
this. I love
like
this.
a drone comes over and lifts you into
Nice.
your suit, and it's just like it's such a great idea for VR, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just you're in this, but you don't. There's no possibility of. It's got that cockpit thing where you're not moving around, so there's no cognitive dissonance in your head. Like
Sure, yeah.
you're never going to feel sick playing it. But
If
it gets
this game wasn't on VR, what would you think?
it would be fine, but it would be nowhere near as cool. That's basically it.
Because
Like
my concern is, I mean, I love playing Rocket League, but I could sit there playing Rocket League for hours on end.
Yeah.
I don't think this is with all VR games, I don't think I'm going to be wearing that headset more than in half an hour
no,
spurts.
and I think it's got something of the Rocket League about it. It's not
Yeah.
quite as obvious. Like
Okay.
like we were saying, Rocket League is just here you go.
Yeah.
This is how it
Definitely,
works.
yeah.
You know forever how this works. There's a bit more nuance to rigs. Like the one thing I didn't quite get until the end was you've got these 3 different like modes on your suit. So one repairs you, one you do more damage, and one you move faster.
Right.
By the end, I was like, oh, this is great. But it took me
Yeah, you'd have to
20
work
minutes
out-
to work
yeah,
out
of
what was
course,
going
yeah.
on. So there is that slight barrier. But I think it would work without VR. I don't know whether they'll release it because, like you were saying, everyone's making esports. And the fact
Yeah.
that it's a VR esport does differentiate it. Like maybe that's how it gets its biggest
Yeah,
possible
maybe.
audience.
Yeah, as in, it's teams that we just watch playing this game in
Yeah.
VR, and it's not a big consumer hit.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take a while, I think, till
VR
we have
has to hit first
Yeah.
before the
Yeah,
game
exactly.
can hit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We had a great. I was playing some VR games. I think it was like last weekend, and I was at a party with Chris.
Okay.
And
It's the most modern party ever.
it was so funny. So it was the first time I'd used
Wait,
VR.
was Tilly playing as well?
This is why it's such a good story.
here we go.
Chris Tilly playing VR, incredible experience to watch. So it was the first time I'd play it where you have the, what do you call them? The things
The
that
move
you
ones?
use.
We're on PSVR.
No, it was on Vive.
So they
it was a
just-
similar like
they've got
mechanics
those
you can use to
little,
pick
yeah,
up
holding things.
yeah,
Yeah.
items.
Holding things.
That blew my tiny little mind. That was unbelievable. Like having to actually pick up guns and
Yeah.
like I can throw them and I could do all of this stuff. It
That
was
sounds pretty
incredible.
cool.
I was literally holding them like a gangster, like running
Of
through a
course you
train
were.
station.
Yeah, of course you were.
It was amazing. And then so I had a blast, and Chris was up next. And of course, who doesn't want to just sit and watch Tilly play VR? So he goes through the same level that I do, and you start off in a train station. So he's walking through this train station, and literally first thing he does, there's guns everywhere, like anything. You can literally do anything you want in this virtual world.
Queue up to get a ticket.
He sees a can on the floor and picks it up and tried to drink it. In VR, he lifted a virtual reality can to his mouth. It was the weirdest
If
thing
that was
in
a
the
Monster
world.
Energy drink, you would have done exactly the same, and you know it.
It was so funny as well because after he couldn't beat the demo, they had to just end it, and we went back to Krups and everyone, and Tilly was like, "I just played VR for the first time." We were like, "We know, mate. You've got the marks around your head." He had goggle marks.
So let me tell you about the can physics.
Couldn't taste a thing. Amazing.
Well, I was saying how fun it would be if I had seen him do it and I put a beer to his mouth. And he'd be like, "Oh!"
That would have blew his
He'd be
mind.
like, "Guys, VR is the future."
I think I was telling
I
you.
really felt like I was drinking this beer.
I think I was telling you, a friend of mine once ate his dinner in Skyrim. Like he went to a bar in Skyrim in Oculus Rift,
Yeah.
Right.
and sat down and like put a plate of Skyrim food in front of him, and then ate real food while he was doing it. And he went into it as a sort of joke. He was doing it for like a YouTube show he was
Yeah.
doing, and he was like, well, this is really weird. Like, actually, this does work.
Yeah.
Like, your brain is tricked somehow. Like,
But
he
obviously, it wasn't
absolute-
1-to-1. Like, because
No, not at all. But something about looking at food as you eat food does
sounds
make
so
your brain
weird.
do
This
it.
is how the Matrix starts, people.
Yeah.
If he had recorded 2 more episodes, he wouldn't want to be unplugged.
No, that's it. Well,
He'd be
he
like,
was,
"Leave
yeah,
me
I
in
was,
here."
I was telling you he went to sleep in Half-Life once. Like he went to sleep as a sort of like City 17 tramp, and he kept being woken up during the night by the little bots that come over and take flash pictures of you.
That's
He just kept
mental.
waking up.
It's pretty cool.
It's
I'm
well
really
worth
excited.
looking up.
I can't wait till we get eventually a headset into the office and we can all just
Definitely.
play with it. It's going to be so much fun. But as we were talking about Rocket League, it seems fitting to move on to one of the other topics of conversation, which is that they just announced the Rocket League Collector's Edition. That's some exciting.
Did you put this on here as well?
I put this on.
So
here.
another negative story.
Yeah, I know. What are the odds?
Two of your stories have the word boring in them.
Maybe this is it. I'm always really optimistic because I'm not the host, and then when it's me, I'm just like, well, the world's kind of shit today, isn't it? I've got to plan. First topic of conversation. My loved ones die eventually. So yeah, unfortunately, this is a bit of a con. The collector's edition is really boring.
How is it a con?
It's not a con. I didn't say a con.
You did.
You said this is a bit of a con.
Did I?
Yeah. Are you all right?
I don't know. I think I'm having a stroke.
I was going to say, man, that's actual slander. You can't
It's not
do
a
that.
con.
It's not a con.
It's not a
you
con.
don't have to buy it.
It's just bad. It's just, there's a lot of cool opportunities that you could do, especially if you're having a collector's edition where, you could do a physical release of the game. Maybe you could have a remote control, like little Rocket League
Is
car.
it that type of collector's edition though? Isn't it just the name of the boxed version?
No,
Collector's
you
edition?
what you get with it is all digital content, but it's
Yeah.
essentially just cars that you can purchase outside of the collector's edition.
It's more like a Game of the Year edition, isn't it?
I guess, but I feel like then you shouldn't really label that as a collector's
That's
edition.
what I'm saying.
I feel like,
I think it's
collector's
just
edition.
the terminology is probably wrong, but
It's
But the problem is that people want a collector's
Oh,
edition
yeah,
of Rocket
totally.
League. Like, it's some of people's favourite game by this point. Like,
yeah, and it's weird. It's like, I don't know what the incentive is to get the collector's edition. I think maybe they have a car or maybe skins that you can't necessarily buy, but it's so minimal. A lot of it that's in the edition is available in
who's
in previous
buying
packs.
this? I have no idea, because if you could say, well, I don't play online, and it's like, well, you're not going to
Why, you
enjoy
play
Rocket
Rocket
League
League?
then. Yeah.
It is weird, and as I said, if even a lot of collector's editions, they have the standard sort of thing, which is like an art book, which people would be like, an art book for Rocket League. I would genuinely be quite interested in seeing the early designs of Rocket League
Really?
and the mechanics. Yeah, absolutely.
It's called Supersonic Acrobat, whatever it's
exactly,
called.
yeah, it's the last game.
yeah. That's basically
This
Rocket
is-
League.
I think there's some cooler things you could do with the collector's edition than offering digital.
no, I
content.
totally agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, which is a bit unfortunate, but we've already all got the game, so
Are you
I
a
don't
collector's
think-
edition guy?
I'm absolutely not a collector's edition guy.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever bought a collector's edition.
Same. Never
Yeah.
bought one.
In my life.
I've never got it.
I know why some people get it, because we're very fortunate in this job to be able to do unboxings for some collector's
yeah.
editions, and I think only one time I got to do it for, I think it was like a Majora's Mask 3DS game, and I was like talking to the camera, unboxing it with like tears in my eyes, like trying to not just pocket these items. So I can absolutely see why people would buy collector's editions, because if it's your favorite game, then absolutely, hands down. And there's some really cool things you can get in collector's editions.
Not many collector's editions come out long enough after the game came out for you to consider it your favourite game. That's
I guess
the
if
thing.
it's a
Collectors are
series.
day one.
Yeah,
these
exactly.
days,
You're just
aren't
like,
they? So,
I
Yeah,
don't get
that's-
it.
yeah.
I don't understand that point. Like, so recent, like the stuff that I've spent money on of, tangential stuff. Like, so recently I got the FTL soundtrack is my favourite soundtrack of all time in games. Like, I think it's incredible. And I bought that on double vinyl, which was like, a one-of-a-kind record, like vinyl record and stuff. Like, it looks amazing. But that's been 2 years after it came out, when I've been listening to that soundtrack
Absolutely.
that entire time. Like, I love it. I cannot understand the idea of anyone looking at a game they don't know about and going, yeah, I want that 7-inch figure of Geralt.
That's the thing,
Like,
though.
that doesn't make sense to me.
It's usually crap, aren't they? Let's face facts.
Yeah.
Like the toy or the whatever you call it that comes with it is usually poorly made or not what you think it is. I remember there was one of the Arkham games. I think it came with a Batarang, and it was all like, it was plastic, wasn't it, or something?
Oh no.
Yeah.
And it was just really poorly made.
I will say I've been disappointed more times than I've been surprised by collector's edition
There was a
items.
couple of times
Even
where I thought about it.
the Pip-Boy was a perfect example.
Oh,
that was awful.
that was rubbish.
It was just, I was really disappointed by that.
it's terrible.
Just the like no kind of texture to it. Just
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of my friends have them and absolutely love them. I don't see a lot of people wearing them anymore, but that clearly didn't take off. But as well, I actually know that the Metal Gear Solid hand is pretty cool. I still have mine on my desk.
The what?
The Metal Gear Solid.
Oh,
hand.
there we go,
Yeah,
the
this
hand.
thing.
For the benefit
It's
of the video.
actually-
Yeah.
it's- I would have liked one to to scale.
to move around. You can get a full-size one, can't you?
Nice piece.
I think there were
not
full-size
sure.
ones around.
I don't know if it's
Really?
fully
Maybe that
licensed,
was
but-
just for like YouTubers
Very
or
limited.
something.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah.
There was the
tell.
ones. There was the night vision goggles. That was Call of Duty.
Oh, Call of
wasn't it?
Duty. Yeah, that's quite a good one.
Yeah, yeah.
Call of
That's
Duty
quite a
actually do
clever
some pretty cool ones.
Remote control
they
car,
did
didn't
remote
they?
control one because it's
Yeah.
one of the
Kill streaks.
Yeah, kill streaks that you could
There's,
get.
and then there's the Dying Light guys. The Techland guys always do ludicrous ones. Like Dying Light, you could buy, it was like a £300,000 version of the game, which came with an apocalypse shelter that they'd filled with stuff.
That
they
remember
would
that.
build it in
Awesome.
your house.
I thought you were gonna say like
Which-
came with a zombie.
No, a real actual man who'd given up on
with
life,
smallpox.
who tried to kill you.
Well, speaking of things that we are actually not that excited about, I know I'm going to be in the minority
Yeah,
of
this is
this. I'm
ridiculous.
already ready. No, I'm ready to have a really reasonable adult debate about this. I was very, very underwhelmed by the Rogue One trailer.
I do not understand you.
Insanity.
I know.
man.
I realize as well. I'm like the only one in the office,
Yeah.
and I'm
In
not
the
going to
world.
take. I don't want to take a stance against it. I want you guys to try and explain to me why.
No,
I,
no,
because
no,
I
no,
feel
no.
to
bad.
explain
No.
why something's good.
You have to explain what you don't like about this trailer to us.
It just so, for example, when I saw the trailers for episode 7, absolute chills.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
I'm seeing characters I've heard so much about. I'm seeing this world brought back to life. Rogue One, I have to admit, I don't know a lot about what's going to happen in the film aside from just the basic synopsis. It looked like if you had just taken out the walkers and a couple characters and TIE fighters, it just looks like a sci-fi movie. It looks
It's
so
a
with
Star
Star
Wars
Wars.
war film.
yeah,
that's
but
the pitch.
But I just I don't know. There was nothing that really. My breath remained in my body. I was not blown
It
away.
did not
See, I
take
think
my
it
breath
It did
away.
not.
The best thing about it for me is it feels like a different kind of film.
Yep.
But with Star Wars, and
Yeah.
like, how can you hate that? If you're a Star Wars fan, it feels like they're trying something different to do an attempted really darker theme. It comes across in the trailer to
Yeah.
me. But like then you've also got these new locations like these like we've never seen AT-ATs in like tropical locations
And they've
things
got
like
those
that
sand
before.
troopers and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's illuminating the sort of edges of that universe in a way. Well, I suppose there's going to be a lot of people listening, and I'm not one of these people, unfortunately, who are super into the extended universe stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is their take on it, the extended universe now, isn't it? It's
Essentially,
going,
yeah.
here's our Marvel Cinematic Universe. No surprise it's Disney who own that as well. You know, like, this is how they work now. But
I actually think Disney's going to be pretty big one of these days.
Yeah, I think they've got,
they're
they've
doing
got a
all right.
good head
They're
on
doing
their
all right.
shoulders.
cheeky little upstart.
Good cryogenically
I think,
frozen old man's head.
I think they're onto something with this Star Wars.
They've got Star Wars and Marvel. I don't really know what's going on.
So with the Rogue One trailer, what do you think? What would have been in it to make you excited about this film?
I'm not entirely sure because honestly, I didn't see a lot of action sequences that
Really?
really grabbed me. Yeah,
You need to
just
watch it
kinda-
again. There's quite a
I
few.
watched it 3 times before this podcast to see if I had missed anything.
What about the music?
The music was good.
I thought that was
I thought
so
the
well
dialogue
said.
was a little bit underwhelming.
That's my only complaint.
Forrest
Yeah.
Whitaker's bit is quite dull.
So there was-
I think that I rebel line is kind of awful.
Yeah,
I thought
that
that was
wasn't
awful. And then the follow-up. So the kind of like rhythm of the trailer is shots fading in, fading out, talking, and then cutting to the lead who then delivers a line, which the first one was I rebel. And then the second one was like, you got to do this, get the plans. It's like, is that clear? And I was like, okay, what's the second one going to be? Yes, sir. And I'm like, what? I was like, I thought it was going to be
that's how you'd answer
something.
them.
But it is going for the timbre of a war film. Like, it's meant to
Yeah.
feel like
I think
like
that's
some
where
Vietnam business.
that's where I'm getting lost. Is that I hear Rogue One and I know what I'm going to see when I look at this movie, but when I see the trailer, it's too far from Star Wars for me to be excited about it as a Star Wars film. I think that's what I need to do. I need to start looking at it as a standalone film.
Do you think
And
maybe
then-
it's because it's in, like, before the Force Awakens trailer, we'd gone a long time before we'd seen any Star Wars. Like, it'd been a long gap. Whereas this, obviously, we've only seen Force Awakens 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And now we've already got a trailer for the
Yeah,
next
I
one.
suppose.
And they might have taken the edge off it a little bit for you. Not for me.
I mean, imagine. To be fair, if Rogue One had been the first trailer after that all that time, you'd be like, what's going on?
I
This
feel like
is
it made
weird.
an impact, but it didn't make an impact like the Force Awakens trailers.
Well,
made.
that's it. So we were playing a lot of Battlefront. I remember around the time when these trailers were the big trailers were coming out, and that kind of softened the blow a little bit because we'd all been living in that universe for a while. Every lunchtime we were, storming these mountains and everything. So for this one, I feel like it's kind of strange because you can't. have that moment in the trailers that the trailers for 7 could. You can't
yes.
show the Millennium Falcon and
Of
have it
course
like
not,
and
no.
get that reaction. Like you
No, I
have to
see
do
that.
something, move in a different direction. Which worked for you guys.
Yeah,
Didn't
I mean,
necessarily work for me, but that doesn't mean it's a bad trailer.
I
I tell you what really gets me about it is that, in a good way, I should say, is you know how the Jedi were always based on samurai and that ancient kind of mythology. Seeing dudes with actual swords
It's a
in
bit
a Star
weird.
Wars
That
trailer.
was badass, though. It's really
yeah,
cool.
I'm going. Well, there should be lightsabers a bit, and then I'm like, no, obviously this is everything George Lucas ever wanted. Like having Donnie Yen like as a blind sword master.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there going, oh yeah, I don't care what film this is. Like this is perfect.
There's a few cheeky shots in there as well. There's the one that looks like could be the Emperor as well. You see that bowing down.
yeah. Well, so people were saying that they think that might be. Oh, I think it was our own Rewind Theatre was saying that it was. They think that might be Snoke. So it's
really?
filling in Snoke's backstory, which actually could be really
That's
interesting.
a really good idea if that's what it is.
Because who would the Emperor be bowing down to?
That's true.
Which so
That is a great idea.
I'm down
I
for
hope,
it.
I hope it is that now, actually.
and then there's like you can hear the breath sound of Lord
very
Vader at the
subtly,
end.
isn't it?
And you're like,
I didn't notice that the first time.
no, neither did I. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
this is interesting.
that little
somewhere.
piece of score at the end as well,
Yeah.
where it's just like this
Mixing
sort
the
of-
themes is just like-
Imperial March mixed with what the main Star Wars theme as
Yeah.
well, wasn't it? And
Very cool.
Oh,
I
it's
did
good.
love the music. I did love the music. So what did you think of the Rogue One trailer? You can email us in at the no, god damn it.
I think that is it.
IGN
underscore UK feedback.
That's the
How's
one.
Joe? How is he doing this?
Paying
New
attention,
guy,
mate. Paying attention.
putting shame.
I should be hosting this shit.
And also, if you want to find out more about the trailer, you can watch our Rewind Theater on IGN, where we, take it shot by shot and break everything down. Our Star Wars pros are on it. We've got it covered. I'm not going to start talking about this next part.
Spy Guy.
didn't
Let's talk about
bring this
Spy
up.
Guy.
So on Friday, I believe, we went out for lunch. And we were in the evening. We were going to Sherlock Holmes event for what's the game called? Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter. You were
Devil's
right.
Daughter, right. And then somehow we got talking about Spy Gear and how Mr. Rory Powers was Spy Guy numero uno as a child.
He was the guy who had all the McDonald's Happy Meals.
I loved that. That's right. We were talking about Spy Kids, right? And I was saying, well, the best part was
we weren't talking about Spy Kids.
Toys.
You brought independently out of nowhere. It was a reference for something completely different. Brought up Robert Rodriguez's Spy Kids series.
Seminal classic.
I love the thought of you guys like talking about football or something, and I'm like, you guys seen Spy Kids?
But then we found out you were a Spy Kid.
You were the ultimate Spy Kid.
It's funny because I found it weird that you guys weren't into spy toys when you were growing up.
I had that pen that recorded noise, but beyond that,
A passive interest at best.
it's
like-
a cool thing to have.
You make it sound like I had a fake wall.
No.
You made it
Like
sound
the
like
Green
you did.
Goblin. If you break a mirror in my bedroom, you can go down into my...
Let's talk about the setup you
my
actually
kids.
had in your bedroom there, using the PS2 iToy. as
Oh
well.
yeah,
the PS2
Oh, there's
iToy.
plenty of people on this podcast that will remember this. The iToy for the PlayStation, you could set it as like a CCTV security camera. So I put it on the top, and you could it would set off alarms when it detected motion as well.
And you mixed this with the fact that you had like a motion sensor for your bed, so
had
that
a
you
lot
could
of
tell if
stuff.
someone moved your bed sheets, which is only ever going to be your mum. Like,
What are you
It
up to,
was
Mum?
her a
What
lot
are
of the
you
time,
doing?
but I'll have you know, Joe, 10% of the time it was the cat.
Yeah.
So who's laughing
you
now?
scrolling through 24 hours of iToy footage to find a cat being like, case solved. For what? What are you doing?
12-year-old Rory at the dinner table with a cigarette and a pot of coffee watching this iToy footage.
But just in case you weren't sure.
Putting a big like lamp in the cat's face, being like, "Where were you at 3:30?"
Well, that's the thing. Just in case you weren't sure, you also had a lie detector watch as
I
well.
had a lie detector
You
watch.
put your fingers on.
You put your fingers on these two, which I guess was supposed to like monitor your heartbeat, but probably just,
Well, it's just
they
one
were
of
probably
those-
just buttons.
It's just one of those mood ring things, isn't it?
Like, I
Wow,
have
we
no
caught
idea.
out Mrs. Powers several times.
oh yeah,
I got money every Christmas when I was in America.
the ultimate spy
And
toy.
they
Finance.
That's how you go and play poker. High stakes.
and then my parents would drive me to Toys R Us, and Toys R Us were the best. They had a whole section on spy toys. So I used to get that. I used to get the pens that you can write notes in and then use
Invisible
UV
ink.
lights.
Oh yeah, which you said the only person who could decipher it is your brother who had the same
Who
pen.
had the same pen? Yeah,
What were you writing to
You
your
need to
brother?
buy them as a set. You got to buy them as a set.
I like
I
pass him the
hate
note.
you.
He's like, "How's your pen? Pen's working well. How's your pen?" And then I also had binoculars. They're like night vision binoculars, which, as you can believe, weren't real night vision
I was going to say,
binoculars.
like, how much were these night vision
They
binoculars?
had green lenses.
$3.99.
So not very useful in the old dark. These
Not so
night
much
vision.
in the old
Couldn't
dark.
quite see too well. No, I find it so strange because I was. Did you guys have like set of toys that you were really into?
Well, yeah, lots of toys, but I would never specifically say I had a phase of being into spy gear. I was always
Yeah.
like, right, I like Turtles, I like Ghostbusters and things like that. But
I had a phase of me and my brother recording sort of elaborate, stupid radio plays onto
I
our
did the
mum's
same thing.
dictaphone. Because you could do the thing where you hold down fast forward a little bit, but not all the way,
Yeah.
and it would record your voice in a faster, like at a faster speed.
Oh.
So we
Yeah.
could create like different characters just by holding it. Like analog equipment was so dumb, you could break it so easily.
I had
It
the
was
Talk
great.
Boy. Do you remember the Home Alone Talk Boy
Yes,
thing?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what me and my brother used to do, like radio shows and things like that on that as well.
I just cracked the case.
Yeah, you were
You're,
just-
you're the infamous chipmunk.
I was. We had a whole
We meet
series of the chipmunks versus
Put
the
your fingers on my watch,
chinchillas.
Joe. Look me in the eyes and put your fingers.
Are you the chipmunk? You shit on my floor.
So, if you were into any weird type of toys when you were growing up, feel free to email us in and make me feel better
Well,
about my own
we
weird
should
addiction
point out
to
that
spy
the
toys.
connection to the game here is that we then played a 20-minute demo of a Sherlock Holmes game, which we could not finish
Yeah.
in 50 minutes.
The guy
I didn't
who
have my
made-
equipment, all right? You caught me off guard. I didn't have my
The
equipment.
guy who made the game had to come over and give us tips.
Oh, it was embarrassing.
It
We
was
are
really-
such bad
Yeah, but
detectives.
maybe it says something for the game as well.
It's a strange game because I think what they're going for is to really, really make you, when you're stuck in a situation, you can't advance because you need to find all the clues in this room. And I think the idea is that you get into the mindset of Sherlock Holmes, you take a step backwards and you just think about what you're looking for and
Yeah.
where it would be. But the reality of that, at least in our case, was then just running around the room at double time, clicking at everything to see if
Yeah.
you can interact with it or
What
pick
if we
it up.
missed?
It had
But
some-
maybe that's just impatience. As I said, I don't know if it's the game for me. I
Yeah.
feel like someone who's really into Sherlock Holmes
Yeah,
would
yeah.
get great pleasure in actually just taking a step back and trying to work out these adventures.
and it had some great ideas. Like there's one element which I think was in the last game in the series. I'm not entirely sure where you can kind of construct a situation and then play it out in Sherlock
that was
Holmes'
cool.
head.
That was
Imagination
cool.
mode or
Yeah,
something?
so imagination mode. So you go like, if I knock this over, what's this person going to do?
Yeah.
And you kind of visualize it. It's like weird holograms walking
Yeah.
around this room. And then once you finish the puzzle, you set it in motion, and then that actually happens. And that's really cool, and it feels very Sherlock Holmesy.
Yeah.
But then there's moments where you're trying to eavesdrop on conversations, and it does that by doing a quick time event where you're having to
Yeah.
put, hold the two joysticks into these circles on the screen. And you're
Yeah,
like,
kind of
this
just
doesn't
irrelevant
make
mini
sense.
games. Yeah.
I also thought that all the balancing on wooden beams as well. It's
Just a few too many action
yeah,
sequences for
it
Sherlock
just felt
Holmes.
unnecessary, not indicative of what type of game I wanted from Sherlock Holmes. And some of the things, like you said, with the imagination mode and the detective elements, work really well.
Yeah.
But there's no need for the balancing mini
Yeah,
game.
it's a bit strange. It feels like it's a bit too. We should point out it's a preview of a game. Like it's
Yeah.
not by no means come out. It is a work in progress, so we don't know for sure whether
Yeah,
lots
they
of this
might
stuff
take
will
it
stay
out.
in.
Yeah.
But it felt like they really wanted to keep you doing things all the time, even when it didn't make sense.
Absolutely,
Like a bit more of a leisurely game might actually make it feel a bit.
I think that's
better.
one of the problems you're going to encounter with a game like Sherlock is obviously you want to please everyone who's into the novels and even the movies, who really enjoys that character. But by doing that, you're creating a game that's not going to have a lot of action sequences. Sherlock Holmes isn't going to get an AK-47 in one of the levels and light up a ballroom.
Yeah,
if I want to
it's
try and.
not well. It's just not going to happen, and it's just finding the way. How do you create a satisfying murder mystery, and how do you do this sort of thing? I always thought Sherlock Holmes games would do really well as a Telltale game. I thought that would be great.
They seem to be taking some inspiration from that sort of.
And
elements
yeah,
as
there is.
well, yeah.
It's got a lot of heavy rain about it as
Yeah,
well. Like
definitely,
that sort
yeah.
of like looking and prodding at an environment.
Yeah.
There was a
There's
bit of when the guy showed us the preview. There was a bit when he was trying to solve the case, and there were certain elements. So it's like a DNA sort of strand, and it was like, okay, so if I make
Piecing
this,
it together,
if I make
yeah.
this decision, that affects this thing, and then this, and then you make your own decision. And from what I could tell, is you can make and stick with a decision, even though it might not be the right decision.
That's what the last game did, and
Yeah.
a lot of people had a problem with it. So he mentioned that you can skip moments that you find too hard because people didn't like being a bad Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
But it gives you the opportunity to be crap at being
Yeah,
Sherlock
that was
Holmes.
really cool.
Which I think is great. A game just letting you fail. Like, you can end up killing the wrong guy, which is horrible, but it fits. Like, that's what
It's such a funny thing to think of where you're like, that's the guilty man. It's like, oh, actually, we found out here. If you want to check, nope.
He's
Don't
the
check.
man.
He's the guy.
Hang him.
I'm sorry,
Holmes,
are you Sherlock Holmes? To the gallows. So that was everything that we're going to be talking about on the podcast. We're going to move on to feedback. So which one of
I
you
seem to
gentlemen
have,
has...
I've got
my
number one.
feedback? This is my feedback.
That's
You can take that one.
Right.
So Joe, kick us off.
It's quite long, but this follows on. I thought it was quite good. So it follows on from last week's discussion, the week before, as someone had pointed out to us, discussion of Call of Duty and its new setting. So we weren't a massive fan of it being in space. A lot of people, including us, have suggested other settings. This person had the most sort of interesting structure for a setting that anyone said to us. So this is Matthew from Seattle.
Hi, Matthew.
He says, hey guys, big fan of the show. Your recent podcast topic around Call of Duty got me thinking, what if they made a COD game? Sorry, what if they made a COD? That's just a fish.
Good start.
What if they made a COD game based around generations? So the single player could be set on a player-created / customizable soldier in the World War II or Vietnam era. This mode would be less bombastic and more narrative-focused, where it really dives into the horrors of war. So old-school Call of Duty. Multiplayer could be modern warfare, where each player would be the next generation of their single-player character. This way they could loosely tie it together, plus make them unique in their own right. This would have the level-up addiction and crazy number of weapons and gadgets as your typical COD game. And then the zombie/horde type mode would be the final generation and set deep in the future, entrenched in fun, light-hearted sci-fi tropes. Just like the other two modes, it would be tied together with the previous generation. Seems like this would offer great variety and make all types of fans happy. Well, except, let's be honest, people who would still find some way to hate it. Yeah. What do you guys think? Should I ring up Activision for some big bucks? I think you should ring up Activision, because I think that's a great idea.
I think it's a cool idea, but the concern is, so you said the multiplayer element would be completely different to, say, the single player
in
element.
setting, not necessarily in feel. So I suppose the idea is that you get used to the mechanics of the game across all the modes, but then they play out differently based on their settings.
Right. But what if, say, like, okay, so we're saying we're talking massive generation leaps, so we've got completely different weapons. What if I love the weapons in the older generation, and then I go into multiplayer, and then I can't play with them anymore, and it just feels like very limiting.
Yeah, I suppose the idea, I mean, certainly with the last two, and probably you will have the same problems as in that as you would. So Black Ops 3 particularly, the three modes, and there's actually a secret fourth mode, but that's a slightly different thing. Like, the three main modes are extremely separate, notwithstanding the fact that the zombies mode is set mainly in the 30s jazz age, so that's completely out the window. It's got magic Jeff Goldblum, but like single player and multiplayer, despite being set in the same age and with some of the same guns, have completely different mechanics. Like, you end up playing different people, you play it in a different way. Like, it's very separate. So at least in terms of the COD that we have now, this idea actually fits into how they make those games, but ties it together in a more satisfying way. Like, I love the idea of playing like my great granddaughter in the far future.
That is
fighting
kind of cool.
That is cool.
So thank you, Matthew from Seattle. That was fun.
Right. This is from Ryan Morton. He says, "Hi guys.
Hi, Ryan.
Loving Prepare to Try.
Oh, you're too kind.
And I was wondering if you've been discussing whether or not to continue it, and if you could make it into some form of competition, some form of competition between the three of you.
Just go with it.
So the competition between the three of you could be: Rory does Dark Souls 1, nailed it.
Nailed it. Done.
Smash.
Yeah. Gav does Dark Souls 2.
Wouldn't happen.
Why wouldn't
People
it?
have said that, but like, he would just the amount of walkouts on that playthrough.
Yeah.
He'd just be like, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I bet you don't guess where this one's coming from, but
Joe does Bloodborne.
Mario Kart
does Dark Souls 3.
So, we have just finished the Dark Souls challenge this week, which, if you've been following, yes, it turns out a noob, me, can beat Dark Souls 1 before Dark Souls 3 comes out quite painfully and stressfully and by working weekends, but it is possible. And we are absolutely looking at how to continue this sort of series in the future at a more relaxed and casual way. But in terms of what From Software game we're going to be playing and when is yet to come.
Ryan has got some more ideas though with this.
Ryan.
So the person who completes it the completes the quickest win, and in like racing games where the time gets added on for the crashes, you could add on time for deaths.
That's quite good.
That is good.
Though, as Krupa seems to be like me and loves lore within the game, I imagine his season would end up the longest, with him just walking backwards and forwards, looking for trinkets and returning to talk to people.
But
He definitely would.
he'd probably die the least as well, though, so
That's
it could
true,
balance
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
That's an interesting mechanic. I will talk it over with my other 2 Dark Souls companions. But it's a pretty interesting
Could
suggestion.
be a good idea. Thank you, Ryan.
Our final bit of feedback is from Steven, and he says, before I start, I'd like to say kudos on the podcast. Since discovering it a couple of weeks ago, I can't bring myself to watch any of the IGN yanks anymore. Yeah! And have since marathoned most of the available podcasts on the IGN.
The British are coming!
app.
We're number one. We're number one.
I feel really bad sitting in this chair and being like, welcome to the IGN UK podcast.
You goddamn yanks!
Hopefully I'm UK enough to be in this chair.
I think you count.
And he's listened all the way back to the days of Stuart. May he
Blimey.
rest in peace.
Yeah.
Bless his soul. And everyone else who perished in the past.
fire.
Lots of corpses.
The fire.
When
the
we
big old-
burnt them.
The great fire of
didn't
Newman
burn
Street.
Anyway, Krups, your little mind effery totally worked. When you asked listeners to pick a number, I sat there with a cuppa thinking, will he F get it right? I'm trying to censor.
I gave the most sweary email.
Steven's a bit of a loose cannon.
Lots of swears.
I'm trying to hold him down. When you said it was 17, I was so flabbergasted, I spilt my freshly made cup of tea over my crotch. I was wearing boxers,
Sorry to hear that.
which, as you can imagine, provided very little protection. I'm now sat here with an ice pack wrapped around my junk like a pig in a blanket.
He's still taking the time to email, though.
Cheers.
I appreciate that.
I really appreciate that. And hopefully our words can aid your crotch back to full health.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
that-
that's what we try and do with every
I think if there's
episode of
one
this
promise we can
podcast.
make, it's that it heals genitals.
I have all warm wishes for your crotch.
Absolutely.
Which is quite cold because of the
cold
aforementioned
wishes,
pig and
cold
blanket
wishes.
ice bag.
We should point out, if you haven't listened to last week's one, Krupa did some audio mind tricks.
Didn't
He
work on
did.
me. Didn't work
No.
on me. I was sitting across from him. Didn't work.
Gotta have a mind. Oh! And
no
on
need for
that
that.
sick burn, thank you for listening to the IGN UK podcast. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.